Hello there, YouTube. I was having an interesting little rant on Gilded. Cameras in video games. When did they get so shit? I can't be the only one who's noticed this. Now, I realise that I'm not the only one who notices this, but I am in the minority. For some reason, the average person doesn't seem to care about this. They don't care, or they don't notice. And I don't know why, because it's a huge, huge issue. Where, when you're playing modern video games, the character that you're supposed to be controlling is not in the centre of the screen. Now, the centre of the screen, my face is not in the centre of your screen. Now, it's off to one side. But it doesn't matter if I'm slightly off to one side. I'm close enough to the middle that I'm clearly the centre of focus. And the reason I'm usually off to one side is so I can put something on the screen here. If I needed to put a book or a game or something in editing, I could put it up here. If I want to show something to the camera, like if I want to show the book I'm reading, I can hold it up here. And it's still in frame, and it looks better that way. And there's this by thirds thing in video where ideally you don't want to be on the middle line, you want to be on one of the 2/3 lines because it tends to look better from a filmmaking perspective, and it does actually look better. You want to have yourself on 1/3 and another thing on another third. So if I was making a video, I'd want to have another thing in the background, maybe say a bookcase with a globe on it or something. The globe could be in the right position. Nothing too distracting, but it be in the background and it would frame the area. That could work. And that works for video. Video games are not films. Video games are video games, and they should be mechanics first. In a video game, you should have the player-controlled character in the dead centre of the screen. And there's a reason for that. If you're playing in first person, you do not have anything to focus on. The whole screen turns with you. And this gives you the perspective that you're looking through someone's eyes. If you want that, that's fine. Do something in first-person perspective. If you're doing third-person, the figure that you are controlling is an anchor point for your eye. The whole screen moves, but this figure doesn't. So when you turn the camera, everything moves, but this figure just does this. And this gives you an anchor point to look at. For people like me who get motion sickness when I play first-person shooters and things along those lines, I like third-person action because I have a focus point to look at. If you move this figure to here, it's now in the wrong fucking place. If I'm now turning the camera, I'm now pivoting the camera around this point. Why am I pivoting around that point? That means that I can't see anything on this side of the character. That's stupid. It makes no sense. And that's what ends up happening. You end up with a character off to the left-hand side of the screen. And usually, they're not only off to the left-hand side of the screen, but they're massively zoomed in. So they're here on the left-hand side of the screen, about the size of my hand, blocking half of the fucking screen. You can't see anything to the left of them. You can see loads to the right, but if an attack comes from the left, you have no time to act. And if you want to look to the left, you turn to the left, and the whole screen turns. But all you're seeing is a pan of the right of the screen, and then you see more of what's to the right, but at a different angle. You don't see anything to the left, even though you've turned the character to the left, because the angle's wrong. You have to turn all the way around, 90 degrees or more, before you can see anything to the character's fucking left. It's stupid. Whereas if you're in the middle, you turn to the left. This bit of the screen pans in such a way, so you turn to the left, the whole screen would pan like this, so that the plane would be there now, yeah? The plane would be, you get what I mean. So that now you'd be looking in this direction, wouldn't you? Or would it be, you get what I mean anyway. It's hard to do the directions the way it should be. It would be that direction actually. Towards where the sofa is. That's the way you'd be looking if you were panning to the left. So instead of going forwards, this would now be the forward direction. It would be, that way would be forwards. Instead of this way being forwards from your perspective. And that's fine. So you turn the entire frame so that is now the forward direction. And then as the whole camera turns in that direction, however it pans, you get to see the whole thing because you've got a left-hand side and a right-hand side that's both turning at the same time. That's why you want to be in the middle. That's why you have two eyes, so you can see out the left, you can see out the right. Being in the middle is better. It's just better. I don't understand why they do this. It's supposedly more cinematic. I don't see how. Now, I have heard some people claim that if you're putting the character directly in the middle, if you're playing a third-person shooter, you need to be able to shoot things, and the reticle will be in the middle, so your character's now blocking the thing you're shooting. First of all, that's not true. Your character's in the middle, but they're usually further down, and your reticle's in the middle of the screen, so you'd be shooting over your head. So your character is there, you've got your little gun, and your reticle is here. You can see what you're shooting over your character's head, but even if that was the case, move the character to here, reticle, and have it so that you can press a button to move them to here. Easily done. You don't have to have them here. This is stupid. So yeah, that's how you do it. It's simple. Or hell, have them in the middle and have it so that when you hold the aim button, it zooms in. Like it often does. It zooms in and goes over the shoulder. And zooms in and goes over the shoulder. The way it does in every third-person game I've ever played. You don't need to worry about this. This is done easily. The fact that Elden Ring, for example, has the character directly in the middle, and yet you can have a bow, and when you pull back to aim the bow, it will just go slightly over the character's shoulder, and you can aim the bow fine, proves that you can have the character in the middle of the screen, still aim fine. No one complained that the character model was blocking their bow accuracy, did they? No one complained about that. But the new God of War games, these are supposed to be spectacle fighters. That's what these games are. The God of War series has always been spectacle fighters. The original God of War series had Kratos in the middle of the screen, fairly small. You could see attacks coming from every direction, even coming from behind him to an extent, because if a character was coming from behind him, you'd see just enough time to be able to react, but you'd see them coming from every direction, from all around. And you'd be able to react and you could attack in every direction. Now Kratos is here. So you can only see things coming from directly in front of him and to the right. If they're coming from the left, you've got no time at all to react. If they're coming from behind, you're fucked. If they're coming from even straight in front of him, you've got no time to react because he's blocking your line of sight. You can only see things coming from the front and the right at the same time because he blocks half the damn screen. How are you supposed to fight these things? Look at what they did instead. God of War, in order to accommodate the fact that they've made Kratos fill half the goddamn screen, they added these little markers around the edge of the screen that light up to show there's an enemy attacking from off screen. If an enemy is attacking from off screen, you fucked up. Attacks coming from off screen means your screen doesn't show enough. It means your screen isn't showing the action you need to zoom out. That's what off screen indicates in a game. So God of War is a failure. That's what God of War is, a failure. And yet, the 2018 game got Game of the Year in so many publications. This is something that really bugs me, because no one seems to talk about this. It almost ruined the Horizon series for me. Horizon Zero Dawn, the character's not in the middle. She's about here. It's not quite as extreme as God of War and Batman, but it's extreme enough that I almost switched it off, because it does ruin the game. Like, she's off-centre enough that it's bothersome, and she doesn't stay there either. She'll be there and then she'll drift to the middle, then she'll drift off to this side, then she'll drift back to the middle and drift off to this side, and you have no control over it. So she's constantly drifting between these points in the camera. And there's no way to control it. You've just got to get used to the fact that she will drift. The camera's in the hands of an epileptic, basically, and someone's flashing a fucking strobe light at him. So you've just got to handle the camera's being held by a drunk. And that's a mark against the game. Second Horizon game does the same thing. Not quite so bad, but it does the same thing. It ruins games. So many games have done it correctly. It's not like this isn't well known. I can show you endless games that do it correctly. And even games that have a zoomed in camera because they want to get a sense of foreboding. Like, for example, The Last of Us. The Last of Us zooms in a bit and it has the camera off-center and over the shoulder. But it's off-center and over the shoulder by about this much, which is still enough that you can see to the left. And I believe that you can alternate so that it's over the shoulder to the right, because I played a lot of the multiplayer and you can definitely do it in the multiplayer. I'm sure you can do it in the story. It's been a while since I played the story. But yeah, you're not quite in the centre, you're off-centre, but you're not, again, over here. And it's zoomed in a bit, but that gives it a claustrophobic feel. It's a horror game. That's reasonable. So many games manage to have the character in the centre. I posted screenshots of many that manage it. Bloodborne gets it right. DMC Devil May Cry gets it right. Ratchet & Clank gets it right. Legend of Zelda gets it right. Breath of the Wild in this case. The Division gets it right. This is The Division 2. And yes, it's slightly off-centre, but again, it's a third-person shooter, and it doesn't interfere with the reticle. It's only ever so slightly off-centre. Elden Ring, I've already mentioned, gets it right. Even Genshin Impact gets it right. And Genshin Impact is a gacha game that's barely a fucking game. It's a casino/waifu simulator that's just trying to get your money and trying to somehow sell merch. And yet it's one of the most popular franchises to exist right now. I don't quite understand how it's pulled that off. But yeah, all of these have done it correctly. And then you have things like Shadow of the Colossus, that, whilst you're riding the horse, does this shit. Why? You're riding this horse. Why is this so far off to the left? You're riding in a straight line. If you want to turn right, you can see everything off to your right, so you can clearly turn right. But if you want to turn left, you have no clue what is off to your left. You do not know if there's a cliff face, you don't know if there's a giant rock in the way, you don't know if you're about to run into a tree, you have no clue what's off to your left. So you can't ride properly. You're now limited to one direction. You may as well be blind in your left eye, and you may as well have only the ability to turn one direction, because you could not possibly turn left there. You don't know what's to your left. And you've got games like Ghost of Tsushima that does this. Why is the character taking up half of the fucking screen? Why is the character pointed at an angle? Like, why, instead of pointing straight forwards, it's pointed at an angle. Why? Why are you doing this? Why is the character so fucking big? Why are you off to the left again? Is this the best they could do for controlling a character on a horse? This is horrific. This doesn't offer any gameplay. The only way that this could be useful in any way is to show off graphics that they're proud of. That's the only reason to do this. This is a walking simulator on a horse. That's what this is. Because nothing else could be done with this camera angle. This camera angle is fucking useless. And you can tell because you can compare it to the camera angle Elden Ring uses. Because that actually has combat on the back of a horse. Why these games insist on having such shit camera angles, I will never, ever understand. And what pisses me off is that no one else ever seems to complain about this. I seem to be the only one that doesn't like these off-centre camera angles. And when I discuss it, everyone goes, oh, I never noticed that until you pointed it out. And yeah, that's shit, that's really stupid. Yeah, that's crap. They should keep the character in the middle. So, yeah, they really should. Why is no one else complaining? Why is this not a deal breaker to everyone else? It is to me. I didn't buy Ghost of Tsushima because of this stupid camera. I refuse to play Shadow of the Colossus because of the stupid camera. I have not played either of the God of War games because of the stupid camera. I don't care if you give them Game of the Year. They are shit games. They have failed at their job. Because their job is to offer a gameplay experience, and the gameplay experience has been compromised because they wanted to turn it into this cinematic experience with their stupid camera. It's compromised. It's crap. It's done without any thought. It's almost as if the developers have only ever seen gameplay footage and never actually controlled a game themselves with their own hands. If they had, they'd know how awful that would feel to control. I want to put this rant out because, like I say, I see no one else talking about this. It pisses me off. So yeah, video game cameras for you. Spread the word. I want everyone to know about this because I want game devs to stop doing it. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.